Thank you for joining us this morning. I think we could already start. I see people are still joining little by little this meeting, but we can keep on accepting them into the meeting as we go. So there is now a huge influx of people just as I'm saying that. So once again, thank you very much for joining us this morning. My name is Piotr Rozelski. I'm working at Cepi, the Confederation of European Paper Industries, and I'm in the Public Affairs and Communication Department. I'll be your host today in this Cepinar on the topic, how can printers and publishers boost their supply chain with the papiNet standard, which will cover everything about in the course of this Cepinar this morning. We have 2 hours together. Without further ado, I'll let one or other host or the facilitator of bringing the printers and publishers, especially the publishers, into this meeting, Mr. Enrico Turin, Deputy Director and Economist at the Federation of European Publishers.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I'm Enrico Turin from the Federation of European Publishers. We are a federation gathering 31 national associations of publishers of books, learned journals, and educational materials from 30 countries in Europe. So we represent the vast majority of book publishers or from all over Europe. And say I'm there, like I hope many of you, really to learn. First of all, standards are something that we find very useful, very important in our sector, but we are not exactly experts. At least I'm not an expert myself, but we do believe in the value and the importance of standards for smooth functioning of supply chains in our sector. I'm more familiar with the standards in the part of the supply chain that goes from like say downstream from the publisher to the retailer, but more and more I see that the increasing relevance of standards and ways of facilitating communication also upstream from publishers in the supply chain. And so I think that any standards that constitute a best practice, a voluntary best practice to make this working of the supply chain smoother, are very much welcome. And in particular, what we see in these recent years, any standards, any ways of facilitating communication that also help compliance with many regulations, pieces of legislation that affect directly the supply chains. Those kind of benefits are very much welcome. So I look forward to learning more today about how papiNet can already and can also evolve even more to provide this kind of assistance to everyone in the supply chain. So thanks, and I hope you enjoyed the seminar.
Thank you, Enrico. I will now introduce our speakers who have expertise across several different areas. As you mentioned, Enrico, it's all about compliance, but also very technical ICT knowledge and standardization, as well as an understanding of business. So we have several people who are here very close to how business works in their companies. Our first speakers will be also from Cepi, as I am, Bernard Lombard, who is the Cepi Trade and Industrial Policy Director, who will be followed by Per Hammarström, who will talk about how papiNet can help you transform your supply chain. And he's head of a business at Stora Enso Packaging Material Division, and also the chairman of papiNet. And finally, we have also Mr. Andrew Wagner, business process engineer, customer connectivity at Cepi Europe, who will present a business case around papiNet. And most importantly, the voice of printers and publishers is again represented after your introduction, Enrico, with Mrs. Annette Hillich from the Cologne Book Manufacturer, responsible for the publishing net, and she'll talk about the expectations of printers and publishers regarding product data disclosures across the supply chain, which is really the main topic that we have today. It's important that we follow EU competition rules today and that we refrain from talking about pricing and costs or any market information, which of course are all topics which are close to value chain relations. I'm not a EU competition rule lawyer myself, but I'll make sure to monitor as you host your discussions today, and will signal when maybe we are going too far away from what is recommendable in terms of EU competition rule compliant discussion. Just a note with that we will take questions at the end of this meeting, but feel free to make it interactive, to ask already a few questions into the chat, put them in the chat box. And towards the end of the meeting also to raise your hand. We'll make sure to keep track of who asked which question first and to give you the floor in the right order. We're also recording this meeting today so that it can be later shared by the heads of your respective associations, be it in publishing, printing, paper, so that we can then share this on the YouTube account of Cepi and to the largest possible audience. And this is part of a series of Cepinars, as we call them, on the topic of papiNet, which we're trying to have with as many parts of the paper value chain as possible, including every segment that we can, because this is a tool that is useful, we think, to the largest group around the table, really. Any provider of food, but also people who need wood and need paper product for their business. And with this, I will give the floor to my colleague Bernard, who will present the benefits of papiNet from a Cepi perspective. Why is papiNet now under a Cepi umbrella? Thank you, Bernard.
Thanks a lot, Piotr. Well, of course, I mean, the benefits of papiNet, there are experts who will follow, who will explain more in details what is the benefits, what are the benefits. I just want to give first a short intro about Cepi. Some of you might not know our organization. So that's Cepi stands for the Confederation of European Paper Industries. You see a few figures here, number of plants and companies, but also number of people involved directly. And we are fully aware that we are one part of a long value chain, starting in the forest, and then also the pulp manufacturing, paper and board manufacturing, printers, publishers, converters, retailers, and then at some point of time also, this is about recycling. We represent about 90 to 93% of the European paper and board production and about 18% of the global production. I mentioned here on this slide that we are working across the value chain, and I think this webinar is a good example. Our chair is Henrik Sjölund. He's the chair for 2 years, he's CEO of Holmen. And we have a quite strong, I think, team of experts within Cepi. And we have been involved in many initiatives like Circular Choices, which has been awarded recently in Brussels. Well, of course, if I talk about Cepi and pulp and paper, people think, well, okay, you're dealing with fibers, but you're mainly doing paper and board. That's true. I mean, most of, let's say, the production is paper and board. What is important to show you is that we are a made in Europe industry. 91% of our fibers are sourced within the European Union. 78% of the wood comes from certified forest. And we are recycling. We keep the fibers in the loop as much as possible. We have a recycling rate of 75%, and I think we are getting closer to 76, 77%, but we are collecting the data at the moment for 25. And in terms of production, I mean, we are exploring beyond pulp, paper, and board towards nanocellulose, bioenergy, biochemicals, but packaging, graphic paper, hygiene and tissue, specialty papers remain the core of our activity. And you see, I mean, the plants, sometimes people tend to think it's mainly about north of Europe. No, it's a bit everywhere. So the countries where you see the dots are the countries which are, or where we have national associations who are members of Cepi. So you see it's widespread over Europe. Okay, last slide before we really turn to the real experts. What I want to emphasize is that we are one part of a rich and complex and long value chain. And that's why we need to have this kind of webinars where we can talk about the way we work together, see what can be improved. And it starts, of course, as I said, in the forest, but as a source of fibers, more and more, we have recovered paper, so recycling. And we have also a lot of exchange of views with machine and equipment manufacturers, with all the service providers, like transport companies, the chemical industry, energy, and so on. But today, it's really about printing and publishing. And we will see how papiNet can enhance the value of what we do together along the value chain. I stop here, and I will leave it to Per, with, as it was said, Per Armstrong, head of the e-business Storenzo Packaging Material Division and the chairman of papiNet. Per, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Bernard. So I have been with this papiNet since it started, so around 25 years ago. So we are a long journey in this area, and I hope we will continue to have a long journey as well. So take the next slide, Bernard. So yeah, what is papiNet? So it's a global and it's a free standard which you can download and use for integration purposes to simplify your integrations, make it easier, and not developing everything once again and again and again. So it's enhancing efficiencies. It can automate a lot of manual things that we are doing, and normally it's real-time data. And the good thing also with this standard, it's actually there for any size of companies. It can be a smaller one, it can be big ones. Of course, normally the big ones, when you do these kind of things, you have a lot of transactions where you of course save a lot of time. But it can also be utilized by smaller companies with getting the data and maybe even making. Nowadays we may not print so much things, but when we started, it was also used a lot to create documents basically from the standard. Like I said, it is free, so it's an open and a free standard you can download. And I think one thing Enrico also touched a little bit about, when we get regulations and new rules, which we have seen. I mean, it says here EUDR, now it's postponed again, and let's see what's happening. But when this comes, when new regulation comes, we normally take it up quite early in the process and implementing it in the standard. So basically in papiNet we had it already for more than 2 years ago. We had it already implemented in the standard to cover the way it was expressed to be done. Now let's see what it is, but we already have this EUDR stuff already implemented since a long time. So that's also giving how we are tackling new rules. We had the same story with the FSC, PFC stuff that came around 2007. It was also rather quickly implemented into the standard, and we can communicate it easily. So that is a bit of the key benefits, and I think we will see also more from André later on what printers and so forth are seeing as the benefit. And basically, when we started this papiNet 25 years ago, it was the major suppliers and big publishers and printers. So it is actually in this section where the whole stuff started, and then of course it has been growing a lot to other areas as well. But if you then take the next slide, Cepinar. So here we can see what actually we have as what we call segment or user groups today. So we have forest, wood products, pulp, paper, packaging, and pulp. They are merged nowadays, so we have it as one group, but we still keep them here so you can see the segment. Labels is also in that group. We had a book user group, and then we have also logistics involved. So, and some of those groups are not so active any longer, but we are still, of course, taking in new requests and making changes whenever needed. So take the next slide. So I already said when we started already, but this is a little bit of the journey we are doing in papiNet and the way forward now from how we see it. So in the 80s, we had the traditional, what we call EDI, and of course, we still do that. And also papiNet is one way, is EDI. So, but then it was more computer oriented and really difficult for a human being to read it and so forth. And that's what we changed then in 2000, and we built this XML standard. And like I said earlier, it was also there to be able to print a document out of it. So that's why it's a lot of more information and human readable. And that has been continuing, ongoing, and still there. We still maintain it. But then 2020, we get some new directions as well. And then we are moving a little bit back to more computer oriented and not so huge human readable information in the messages, but more that we can communicate directly computers to computers with, and then we're using this API, which is in the background, the JSON technology we are using. So that is nowadays the new direction what we are developing in, and as you can see from 2023, we are mainly developing new things in the area of APIs, and we are doing it based on use cases. We of course have been developed certain APIs already, but we are trying to get them so we really get use cases in, and we know that it will be used, so forth, and going on for that. So, but of course we still maintain, of course, the XML standard as well. I think that is also something which is important to remember within the standard. So you can take the next slide. So yeah, why having a standard? I mean, APIs is quite easy for people to implement. If you have a certain need, you can do it, and then you can say, hey, to your partner, can you please use this and transfer the information to me or collect the information. But then if the next one is doing the same thing, then we have so many different variations, and you have to cope with that. And we see it also in the real life with DHL or whatever. They have a lot of these kind of APIs that you can utilize. But what we see as a good thing with the standard is that you do it once, and hopefully you can reuse it then with anyone else then later on. It's like this picture which is showing the power plugs, and nowadays it's not that difficult to travel around, at least not in Europe, Most of the countries has the same power plugs, but that was not the case in the past. You always needed to have your extra stuff with you to be able to convert it, and that is the same if you don't have the standard in this world, talking about the integration between partners. So that's why also the standard is important. And I also think it's really important that there will be maintenance in a standard as well. So just starting it off, you need to remember that you need to have a group afterwards that can maintain it and still there. And I think papiNet has proved that with the 25 years already, and we are still there and maintaining it. We have seen a lot of other standards which are actually no longer maintained. Of course, they are still used, but when, for example, new regulation comes and so forth, it's important that you can maintain it. So next slide. So this is the papiNet score model, and you can see that we are basically working from the planning to the end of the supply chain, and this is linked more to the XML document that we have developed during the years. But now, of course, we are moving then also in the same area into this API discussion. So, and there are, of course, some of those are more used than others, especially if we're talking about printers and so forth. They are very interested in to get the delivery information before the trucks arrives and these kind of things. So that's I think it's one of the most used messages or document in this area. But we continue to develop and really looking for also for use cases. So take the next slide. So like I have been saying a little bit, our current focus is to developing APIs, and we are focusing on a little bit on use cases. We have been doing already some development in this area, which can be seen on this papiNet GitHub. And the current development area is now in logistics, where we are doing for us from a supplier point of view towards the warehouses and the logistic partners, where we have a big set of APIs developed, and we will soon, in a couple of weeks or a month, release a new set again. So this is something, and of course those can also be used in other areas. Doesn't need to be a supplier to a warehouse. It can also be used in any of the logistics connections, basically, if it fits for that purpose. And of course we are continuing maintaining the XML standard as well. So but here, of course, the important thing is, which I will talk about in a short while here, is that we're getting basically requests from users as well. So that's why I'm saying we are focusing on use cases. So if you take next slide. And just to give you a bit of an idea how we are working and the structure. So we have this committee in the top where we make bigger decisions and so forth. And now we are since a year also in the Cepinar organization. So that's why we are now working a lot with Bernard and Bill to make also these kind of webinars and other stuff as well. Then we have what we call the papiNet Central Work Group. And that is where we are actually maintaining the standards and developing it, and taking decisions based on inputs from the user groups, which you see below. And that's where normally the request should come. So basically, if you have an idea where to use papiNet, or you want to develop something, you can always come to the user group with a request, and we take it up. We book meetings, and we go through the use case. And if it's really, we think it's really a good idea, then it's moving up to the central work group, and that's where we are developing the standards, and then hopefully it will be used as well later on. So you can see here that we have, like I described also a little bit earlier, this paper group is now more combined with several of the separate groups in the earlier days. So, and then we have the forest wood and byproducts. We had a WoodX and XBits for the book side, and then logistics group as well. And if you can also go into the papiNet.org. I think I have the links later on also in the presentation, and then you can read more about the user groups and the work and the ones who are mainly involved in it today. When we started this 25 years ago, it was with the, like I said, the major paper suppliers and publishers and printers, big ones, were involved in the beginning. But then after the standard was more mature and we have done the business cases what were needed for the printers and publishers at that time, they faded out from doing the work, because here it is also you need to put in your resources a little bit to do the work when you have business cases. So in the last, I would say, 5 to 10 years, it's more the paper or packaging suppliers who has been driving the work in the standardization, because we still believing in the standard. This doesn't mean that it's implemented everywhere in the printing and publisher area. Definitely not. And I think there are still potentials to do a lot here in this area. You can take the next slide. So like the user groups here, they are more than dedicated for the different market segments, and like we are saying, it's you can participate. It's no cost to participate here. The main work is done by the companies itself, putting the resources in there. And like I described as well, that's here where we take in the requests and we do the pre-work, and then moving it to the central work group for decisions or feedbacks or whatever. And of course, joining such a group, you also have the opportunity to contribute to the development of the standard and putting in your business cases. And so it's a big chance that you get it fulfilled what you are after, if you're also putting in a little bit of an effort in it. So, and then central work group, I already talked a little bit about it. So we are maintaining the standard and approving then user groups requests and giving feedbacks if something needs to be changed, or we work together. And then of course we're releasing new versions and builds of the different standards. So take the next slide. So like I said, any company can submit a change to a user group. It will be taken in, and there will be a preparation work. It goes to the central working group, and hopefully it will be done in the next release. And we normally have a standard flow how we are publishing and releasing it. So you can take the next slide. So this is mainly the standard. So we normally publish in the springtime. So now March, April, we will release a new version of the papiNet standard, and then the same thing for the XML, sorry. And the same thing is done in October. So these are the two main things, but it doesn't mean that if there is something which is urgent, we can do, of course, releases in between as well. And with the API, it's a little bit different, because there we are also in a development phase, and then we are doing it more, can do it also more ad hoc if needed when we have certain business cases. So that's a little bit how we are working. So at least twice a year we have new releases for the XML. An API can be a bit more depending on use case, how often we can do that. So I think, if I remember, Bernard, that was the last slide. So if you take the next one. Correct. So this was the overview from the papiNet as such, and now I think we are moving more into real cases from André, where he will explain a little bit more how customers and printers has been seeing this together with Cepinar. So, André, please.
Yes, Per, thank you very much for these nice insights about papiNet. So my name is André Wagner. I'm responsible for customer connectivity and e-commerce at Cepi in Europe. So if you can jump to the first slide, please. So I like to invite you and show you a bit what it is about in our daily business. So in general, we face quite a lot of challenges but on the other side also opportunities. With everything in general, the administrative complexity is still growing, and what we are still seeing a lot in our industry and in the business daily is during the order to invoice process, we still rely on manual processes. So there's quite a lot of email, PDFs, Excel, manual checks, and all these areas are the root for errors, and the administrative efforts keep rising in general. So, but what is the root cause in general? So in most of the time, it's not the people, it's not the work that needs to be done. It's in general a missing standard in the communication between trading partners. Because if we are not speaking the same language, it breaks the process completely. So if you go to the next slide, and that's what we are trying to solve a little bit as opportunity and the challenges we have with the manual processes in jumping into papiNet as one common language in the communication between the trading partners. So we are talking here about standardized business messages, which we can integrate between suppliers and customers. And the one main important part, it prevents errors. So this is something where we spend most of the time in general in daily business, checking for errors, handling claims because something gone wrong, an order was overseen, delivery messages were not at a specific time, and the customer trucks cannot be unloaded. So that's the typical errors we see in daily business. And with these common language and communication between the partners, we can make sure that we are much more effective and automated in these areas. So the result in implementing in a standardized language in the communication is really that we have straight through processing from all parts. In this case, we also have checked with some of our customers who have already implemented EDI and the papiNet standard, how they saw the implementation in general. What were the challenges they had before, and what are the opportunities raised out of the implementation of papiNet. So if you can jump to the next slide. So one of our customers we interviewed about papiNet and the general integration is the customer Wallstedt CE. It's a European printing group, mainly in the area magazines, retail publications, graphic print, with multi-site operations in Europe. So they have different locations, and they challenged before the integration quite a lot of the topics I already mentioned. So most communication was handled via email, PDF, Excel-based processes. I think every one of you knows if you one wrong typo in an Excel file, and it can create some chaos in the background. There's much manual effort in checking orders, booking orders manually, checking delivery documents and all this stuff. And also they're facing issues and challenges in the direction of planning the production, planning sales and all this stuff, because delivery data was often too late. After the integration with papiNet, in this direction, so we were able on both sides to improve these straight through processing time. We had on both sides, on Sapi and also on Wallstead sides, a strong reduction in mismatches and errors. And the biggest opportunity was that faster invoice approval and payment was possible. The full process is completely automated, and this gives a lot of opportunities afterwards for the customer. If you can jump to the next slide. So the second one we interviewed is our customer Zing. So it's a distributor of paper, packaging, and visual communication products. And here we see the same picture, very similar. So before, orders were sent via email from customer side. What does it mean on Sapi side? So here we have had also the situation that then the person was receiving the emails, getting it, typing it manually. Typos can happen, as example. And the error rate in general is higher as if the system is communicating in a standard language. After the implementation, everything is automated, orders and confirmations. So customer can book in their own system. So the order, the communication, transfer of the messages to Sapi is fully automated, and we are confirming automatically back. So here's the biggest advantage is clearly the time savings they have. And it's also the case that scaling in general is much easier when you scale your business or processes, because it is not dependent on people. So you can reach much higher throughputs and processes also with the same amount of people. So the main sentence from the customer was that the biggest benefit for us is that it is format designed for real needs of the printing industry. So as Per already mentioned, so it's quite focused on the paper industry, but we are also going in direction of logistics and everything else. But main focus is still on printing industry, and if we together speak here a common language, it's a big opportunity for everyone. I've also learned out of history that especially in our industry, the applications and languages that are spoken between the companies, suppliers, and customers is quite different, and a big challenge in aligning it. So if you go to the next slide, and what as business impact, what papiNet is delivering here is, in general, when we are setting up EI with the papiNet standard, so we are able to lower the operating costs. We have faster order to cash cycles. The process is run with fewer errors and claims, and it's scalable without extra staff. So that's in general the biggest opportunities we see in implementing or using the papiNet standard. So the standardization in general reduces structural costs and supports a sustainable sustainable margins. And this is my final sentence in this direction. So and yeah, we see that speaking a common and standardized language is one of the biggest opportunities we have in our daily business in this case. So for this, I see, Per, you have your hand open.
Yeah, I wanted just to add to this that also from from our company, we are also communicating with the customer that you are explaining, which means the printers here and they are using the same, so they don't need to develop anything new, because we are also delivering to those, and that means it's a big benefit for the printers and the customers in this case, that they can reuse what they have developed with other, and that's the whole purpose with it. And I think it's also in what is key when I saw you were talking about orders and confirmation, and in many cases printers or publisher or anyone, they require certain references to come back when we are sending messages later on in the supply chain, like the delivery or the invoice. They need certain references on those document or messages to be able to process it. And in many cases, if we don't start with the beginning, like an order, you may miss this, or you miswrite the order number and stuff like that. So that's also a key for the whole supply chain, that starting from the beginning, most probably, and getting information in to have the full automations in the whole supply chain.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm fully with you. So one of the biggest advantages is really the standardized language, which then allows in the industry different suppliers and different customers to speak together. Perfect. So then let's go to the next slide. And I've finished my overview of the business impact in general, and like to invite now Annette Hillig with his insights about printers and publishers' expectations regarding product data disclosures across supply chain. So the stage is yours. Thanks.
Thank you. I'll just share my screen. Can you see everything? Is it fine? Okay. Thank you very much for the invitation, and I'm happy to let you know about the thoughts we in the publishing and printing industry have on standardization and the digitalization in our material supply chains. Our goal for 2026 is a DPP for the print and publishing sector, with the EU Eco-Design for Sustainable Products Regulation, which sets the concept of the digital product passport as a legal obligation for product sales in the EU market. We consider the standardized digital communication across supply chains, which the DPP requires, not only as a regulatory game changer, but also as a chance with huge potential for a shift in the efficiency in our product data management. That's why we decided to enter a cross-industry discussion on a common machine and human-readable digital product passport in 2026, knowing companies who use a DPP, meaning a standard data exchange format, for their product data management will benefit a lot. Background of the DPP initiative is, in fact, the initiative we ran on the EUDR last year, which was initiated by the Responsible Publishing Net and Initiative Online Print with joint forces, and the goal to set a common standard for the transmission of EUDR data. And that's how we started our discussion with the material suppliers with a collaborative approach. The goal of the initiative was achieved in July 2025 with the publication of EUDR-X by Initiative Online Print. EUDR-X received strong communication support by Intergraph, the European Print Association, straight away by setting the frame for the EUDRX launch webinar in September with a broad audience of nearly 1,000 registrations, followed by a huge wave of interest, appreciation, and active support of printers, publishers, paper plants, service providers, and business organizations in our sector. So besides all the hic-hac which came along with the EUDR, there was one great effect it had: the start of lots of very constructive cross-industry dialogues with a focus on the common goal of standardized and efficient product data transmissions between the companies and supply chains of the print, paper, and publishing sector. So what's next? We will continue this year with our cross-sector initiative and dialogues. Our goal in 2026 is to create and publish a standard exchange format for easy transmissions of relevant product data requirements in print and paper supply chains, such as the wood origin information, safety data sheets, paper profiles, certificates, test reports, technical data sheets, declarations of conformity. All stuff which we assemble and require to recently or up to now manually. So here's a roadmap which we try to follow. In February, March, continuation of preparatory cross-industry talks on the prototype of a template which covers the data fields we would like to include into the standard exchange format for data transmissions in print and publishing supply chains. Resource planning, clarification of fundraising options. In April, or in the second quarter of 2026, before the summer break, April until June, we consider to start running technical tests. And if we follow the same path as we did last year, which worked quite well, maybe we will achieve to publish a better version of the template we created, the draft for it, in July. So August is the main month for summer holiday, and as we did it last year as well, September would be a perfect month to release the achievement, which hopefully is this template we are heading for, and we want to achieve together with our material suppliers. And then obviously it would be very reasonable and necessary as well that this initiative is again supported by activities of the business organizations with Intergraph and Cepi and the FAB up front, and obviously also other involved industries and companies. We look very much forward to proceeding with our supply chain dialogue with Cepi and the papiNet team in the next weeks, as well as with other industry which contribute materials and services to print and paper products. The RPN will be one of the coordinators of the DPP initiative. With the release of the RPN platform and a better version in March 2026, the RPN is providing a communication platform for publishers, printers, and the material suppliers. Please feel free to contact me if you want to pick up further information on this project or web demo. Initiative Online Print will again provide technical advice and support of the DPP industry initiative. Intergraph is ready to accompany the DPP industry initiative with communication support, webinars, and guidance documents. We, as printers and print buyers, are very much looking forward to a business setup ahead with easygoing supply chain communication and full clarity of the materials in our products. So we are looking forward to our collaboration. Let's work together on this in 2026. Yeah, and this is the end of my presentation with my contact data.
Thank you, Annette. So I think we had about 15 people altogether in the joining in this session, apart from the speakers, of course. Throughout the session, some have left, some are still here. And we have already one question from Trine Nudi. I hope that I'm pronouncing that well, from Printbest. Would you like to read your question yourself, Trine, or otherwise I can do it for you, of course. I'll maybe just go ahead and...
Hi, sorry.
Okay, great.
I just had it muted. Yeah, I just wanted to know, have you assessed the order volume from which it would make sense to organize the automation? Because right now we are buying papers from very different suppliers, and it's obviously not cost effective to organize automation with every one of them. So what would be the, I would say, the minimum order volume that would be effective? Thank you.
Yes, if I may answer, it's not easy to say. I mean, we have a sums by sums transaction wise where we say, okay, let's investigate if it makes sense to start the implementation, but it really depends on the full business case. So it's not just the order volume. If on both sides we see opportunities in automation and reducing errors and improving efficiency, it becomes a logical step. But in general, it should not be just 10 orders per year. Let's call it like this. So we see a transaction limit in this direction, but it's really hard to say where do we tackle it. So we have a rough number in our agenda on our side at Cepi where we say, okay, let's go in direction of 1,000 transactions, where we say, okay, let's investigate. But we also have cases, especially when we are talking about logistic informations, delivery messages, where the transactional outcome is not so high as for order volume, for example. So it really depends on the business case, and if both sides are committed to invest also the collaboration in building the automation for the future business together. So that's mainly the part. Yeah, it's sum by sum. There's a volume, but it's really the business case. I hope this clarifies it.
Yeah,
Yes, thank you.
I can only say the same thing from our side. Of course, you do internally. You're looking for your part where what you can make more efficient, and then of course you're looking at number of order lines, maybe how many orders do we get, because it, like you André said, if it's just 2-3 orders per year, you may not go for a full integration. But again, it's again the full picture in the supply chain, because I mean, from a printer point of view, they are mostly interested in the delivery information, and you may not even order from us, because you may have a customer and publisher somewhere, and so there is a triangle as well in many cases. So but of course you normally look at, is it worth to spend time on doing an integration or not? So I think that's what it is. It's many parameters actually involved.
I hope we have answered your question, Trine, but a very important one. Thank you, Per, and thank you, Wagner. We have a sort of statement from Peder from Holman, but if you don't mind, Pedro, we might maybe take first a question from Lisa, so that we have enough time for people from the publishers and printers industry to ask their questions and talk to us. Lisa, please go ahead.
Hi. I've been in contact with Per a number of times over the joy of EDR. I think it's just, looking towards the digital passport, it's whether or not there's any plans to expand on more of the forestry information. So not some, obviously we've moved away a lot from some of the requirements within EUDR, probably for printers. But it's more the static information around species and countries. And it's whether or not there would be any plans to expand to bring that into papiNet so that we've got more information that's fluid through the supply chain, where currently we're storing that separately, we're having to, there's lots of emails going backwards and forwards. It's whether or not that would be something that papiNet would look at to start to help with some of the information to move through the supply chain.
Yeah, as we have been discussing this before, you and me as well. So, but we have already certain things already in there, and of course we have the forest side of it, which Jens is here. Then they may have slightly different things, but I think we can already populate this kind of information in the ones we are sending to you today already. It might be that there will be some small changes needed, but I think it's most of the stuff is already in the standard. It's just that we need to add it to the messaging. So yes, of course, the answer is yes. We would look at it, of course.
Alex, do you want to add to what Lisa or Per said on topic?
Yes, this is exactly what we are asking ourselves. How proceeded is papiNet already with the inclusion of the original information of the paper factories, which we recently or currently still ask for in different ways, like via email or in conversations and so on. This includes, from my point of view as well, the information which is disclosed via the paper profiles, which are standard in a way already for a long time as well, and cover lots of precious information we appreciate in publishing, definitely, as well as declarations of conformity regarding regulatory or normative standards, which would be great if this would all be covered by papiNet, definitely.
And the answer is yes, of course we can do that. And most probably a lot of information is already in, depending on which type of document you're looking at. But if you're looking at the big data dictionary we have, there is a lot of information already in the standard. But I think we also need to get, and that's what I was talking about, getting requests. What actually do you want to do? And then we take it up and we surely, if it's not there, we will develop it. So
yeah, anyway, I understand my statement of today of a first step for a request. I mentioned in my presentation that we are frequently asking for the paper profiles of papers, that we are asking for the wood origin, that we are asking for declarations of conformity with regard to relevant standards, and so on. So yeah, let's start discussing how far you can cover that with papiNet.
yeah, I'm sure we can cover it. It's and like I described, the last 5 to 10 years, it has been more the suppliers, and we are of course doing it from the supplier point of view, and what's the needs are there. But originally, when we started the whole standardization work, then publisher and printers were involved and gave their input, and then they faded out. Was not interested to participate in the work any longer. So, but when I listen to you, there is again maybe a bigger need again. So we are happy to go on with that.
Fine.
Good to see some collaborations already emerging from this Cepinar. We have, as I said earlier, a long statement here in the chat from Peter from Holman. Peter, would you like to take the floor and say it out loud?
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you.
I mean, the main issue for us is that everybody doesn't use papiNet. That's unfortunate. We are probably facing the same challenges as everybody else in this meeting. Partners and customers do want integrations in different directions and different formats and so on, and that's obviously no problem for us to fix, but it creates a lot of work to maintain and support those individual integrations that we would very much like to avoid. We also do appreciate, even though EUDR obviously didn't come into place, at least not when it should do. We did, or papiNet did manage to adapt quite swiftly. And in case more of our customers used papiNet, we wouldn't really have any major challenges regarding it, since it's quite easy to adapt and to pass on the information as the counterpart expects it. That's only one example. I mean, e-invoicing is becoming an issue in Europe, and that's the next thing, which I assume and believe that papiNet will cover as well in a proper way. We did actually, regarding our counterpart for e-invoicing, we did actually more or less force them to accept papiNet rather than adapting our way of sending it. So that's one example. Yeah, that's more or less it. Open for questions if anybody has any.
Thank you, Peter. That's an interesting perspective, and it clarified maybe the interactions that you can have between different parts of the value chain. We have also a question. Oh, no, sorry, it's just Paul Etienne from Larcier, who says he has to join another meeting, and thanks us for the interesting presentation. Annette, you still have your hand up.
Yeah, just a small remark to Peter's statement. I think what he's mentioning with regard to these many different standards Holman and papiNet have to cope with. Our very idea with EUDRX and with the DPP initiative of the print and publishing sector is now to create a common standard exchange format which ensures interoperability. And so I'm not an IT expert, but as far as I understand, this would be a big help, wouldn't it?
Yes, but we also have EUDR already within papiNet already. But what I think Peter mean is that from the supplier point of view, I think we are all committed and using papiNet as the preferred solution. But we have many different partners, customers, printers, whatever out in the world. And when they come with requests, and sometimes we have to follow their requests, and that's
sure.
We always trying, when we propose a new integration to anyone, we propose papiNet because that's our standard way of doing, and it's easy to set up. We can switch it on more or less and deliver information. But the problem we have around the world, and I think EUDRX would have the same problem, that everybody was not accepted. And we as a supplier, we have to cope with so many different variations. And there is no, I mean, even Peter was mentioning invoicing here. There is even regulations from EU coming out that we have to send all the invoices digital. But even there, we cannot agree on a standard. because each country has their own. We have just implemented something for Belgium, and then now Poland comes with a different way of doing the business. So not even there we are able to push for one standard. So I think but if we have something, we always at least this is my experience. When I have been visiting customers and we don't have anything, they have no problem to accept to go for papiNet, because we then say you can reuse it with other paper suppliers and so forth. So, but I don't believe that we will have only one in the world. That I still would be the perfect world, but we are not there, because people are wanted different ways.
Actually, just as a short conclusion remark, from my point of view, we have Onyx, which is the same age as papiNet. Onyx is a book publishing standard or book selling standard, which is very established in the book trade. And we have papiNet on the other side, which is great. So we have established standards already. And the challenge is now to build the bridge between printing and publishing and material suppliers. And as the printers are not only using paper, but also other materials coming in, we need to find some kind of interim solution, which is hopefully as far as possible aligning with Onyx on the one side and papiNet on the other side. This is how I understand the pragmatic approach for the challenge.
Yeah, what I see as a really great initiative now, based on discussions we have here, that we start talking to each other and not doing development on each side in silos. We try now, because then we have a bigger chance.
Yeah, of course, definitely.
I think that is because I've seen many initiatives. As I said, I have been in this papiNet world for 25 years, and even before that, I were in EDI. So, but there is a lot of people starting things, and then you have to live with it. But if we can, first of all, start discussing, because there is already maybe a big standard and still living, then why not try to integrate and work together instead of making our own way?
I completely agree. Just leave the silos behind and focus on collaboration as early as possible, and of alignment of data fields and semantic structure, and to come to terms and not to have such a huge variety of APIs which need to be created
and maintained. That's the main issue for us, at least.
Of course.
But to sum it up, like statistically, I mean, we have roughly 50% of our integrations as papiNet and 50% as something else. I'd say roughly that we use 10% or so on our integration time on papiNet, 90% for the remaining integrations. So that says something, at least.
Yeah.
So we could all save time if we worked with one standard. I think that's one of the conclusions today. We see I have a few people from the publishers and printers in the room. Marika, Mircea, Oria, would you have any questions that haven't been answered yet? Or Enrico as well, actually, you're also representing this sector. Otherwise, Annette, I see you have something to add to the conversation.
I think Enrico is speaking, aren't you?
Sorry, I didn't see.
Okay.
No.
I just had one more question, which is different than the ones before. Which paper plants, and is there a complete survey on which paper plants, paper traders and printers are already using papiNet? because I was told by several that they don't use it, although it's there, and people like you say it's perfect to use.
We don't have any list like that, but we know about, and this is about also competitions and stuff like that. So it's a bit an area where from the organization point of view, maybe not, but I think again, we Lisa asked about, or no, it was not Lisa, but Trini asked about volumes and so forth. And of course, depending on the volumes, if it's a small printing plant, you may not do it. But that, like we discussed, it can be different in different situations, and so it can be, of course, for a big supplier from Sappi and a small from Stora Enso. But we will, if we're using the standardization and papiNet, we would probably also do it for them, because it's not a big job for us to integrate if we can use the standard. But I don't know, and we don't have any number as such.
And anyway, I think this is a challenge. We have so many SMEs in printing as well as in publishing, and we need to bundle our digital communication to take a benefit and of this all together, and not just leave it to the really big ones who are able to finance.
We did from Cepi a questionnaire in the autumn, but we didn't get many replies. I don't know, Vernon, if we had the whole printing association involved in the questionnaire we sent it out, because there we asked about how they're using it, but we didn't get many replies, unfortunately.
Yeah, we could follow up again and maybe spread it once more in our different networks.
Yeah, we could, after this session, we could indeed, when we send the slides or make them available, say that there is a questionnaire or short survey where people indeed can express their views. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Anyway, the two-way communication will be key, and not just sending out questionnaires.
No, but
we have to consider which questions we communicate as well.
And we did that, and it's not a big one. It didn't take long, but we wanted to get some kind of idea. But people, yeah, that's always tricky because people are not answering, and if they don't do it immediately when an email comes, then it will not be done.
Note taken. Anyway, that we will follow up on this action. Thanks, Annette, for proposing. I would just say we have in under Cepi 470 at least from the latest data companies involved, and so of course we cannot know what each of them do, but we had little survey at least of our board members, and I think there's quite a few papiNet users, especially among the ones which are also wood producers. So I think we have a case that papiNet is an important standard already from the perspective of paper producers. Are there any more questions? I think that we have nothing more in the chat, and no questions from the printers and publishers who are still in the room. Annette, one more question from you, Essie.
Excuse me, one more.
No problem.
How close are you already aligned with the paper profile initiative, which is old already and very much appreciated by publishers? Can you please explain?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
The paper profiles, which is this initiative of European mainly paper plants, and they have this disclosure standard as well. Is that something you have already aligned with, or are you considering to do it?
Nothing we have been discussing, so.
how can that be? This is the paper industry, the
I'm
same
not sure.
companies.
I'm not sure exactly what you mean. I don't know. I mean, Andrea or Peter, do you really get the question?
No, not really.
Not in direction of papiNet at the moment. So from our side, yes, we are handling paper profiles in general as it's a business need, but it's not in touch with these communications at the moment based on papiNet. So, but if there is a use case, as Per already mentioned, when we are really talking about business cases where we see a value and a need in the industry, it can be discussed as a use case.
But this would be the really first starting point, wouldn't it? Because these are data from the paper industry which are already there and which should just be provided via one channel and not via requests per email anymore.
Yeah, and again, we haven't seen that kind of request within papiNet as such, but I think a lot of this is already in the standard and can be utilized. But we need to start getting the request as well, and then we can have a look on it, for sure.
I will send it to you.
Yeah.
And Trin, who's also with us, confirms this is a need. Trin, would you like to take the floor and add to that?
Yes, sorry, I'm not prepared to talk today, but yes, there is a need because I need to collect all these carbon accounts and paper profiles yearly in order to make our own carbon account. And right now it all goes manually, asking again and again, and it would be a big asset if we get it by default. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I think the request to do an integration with it has maybe not come, at least not into the papiNet, at least what I know about.
Yes,
So
of course, it's all
definitely
developing. Yeah.
A good point to start. Yes.
Okay.
Well, we know already of one more question to add to our questionnaire, I suppose, or to our survey after this meeting. Thank you very much. I think this is probably as far as we will get with the questions. And now comes to time to the concluding remarks from Per. Per, where are we taking all this from there?
And I think thank you all for participating, and I think it has been a good discussion. And from my view is that I can see that this what I call paper user group maybe have a restart again, because like I said, we have been a bit in a slow mood, and because everything has been working, no new request has come, but I can really see now that we can also get some new participants in, that you can come with requests and describing the business case, and then we can hopefully develop something good for the future and continuing with that. So so what I will do, I will try to arrange a user group meeting where I will invite you, and then I think, Annette, you maybe can help with who should participate and so forth, because I don't know all the people, but and then we can organize a user group and looking at your priorities and requests that you have.